Leeds United are set for several exits this summer. After all, it's a transfer window when we've done pretty well the previous season and could really look at doing a fair bit of squad churn. Get decent players in, get the less decent players out, including the sort of chaff players that we won't necessarily need, and eventually we will build a squad that is significantly better. And over the past couple of days, a lot of news has built up around some very specific players. So in this video, I'm going to take a little bit of a dive through the most recent bits of news around exits from Leeds United, who the players are that are likely to leave, where they might go, and ultimately the sort of fees that we might expect for them, which aren't always the hugest, but that's sort of fine. You'll have to find out why in a little while. But before I do so, I just hugely appreciate you liking and subscribing and all that kind of standard stuff. Anyway, let's get into it. The first of the three players that I'll be looking at in this video is one that we all probably know is going to be leaving, but he's not quite got the route to an exit done yet. It's specifically Isaac Schmidt. Isaac Schmidt, the Swiss wingback who played a little bit in the Championship, primarily as a winger rather than a wingback, which showed just how much we could trust him defensively, spent last season out on loan at Werder Bremen. Now, Werder Bremen didn't decide to play him too much and he didn't have that much of an impact, which is why they didn't exercise their clause to sign him permanently. This would have been sort of ideal for us because it would have meant that last season we would have gotten a significant chunk of finance in, player that we didn't need out. Cool, that would have papered over some of the PSR cracks. But that didn't happen. Instead, it looks like a permanent move will be on the cards for him this summer. Specifically, Young Boys and Basel seem to be keeping an eye on him. Keep in mind that Young Boys isn't, in fact, some weird sort of youth club. It is, in fact, a football club in Switzerland, potentially their most successful potentially their most successful of football clubs. Sorry. To be just for full transparency, I worked the USA versus Belgium match. It's currently 4 a.m. at the time I'm recording this, and I'm desperately hoping to get to bed. So I just thought I'd explain why the sort of word stumbles are happening. Leeds are reportedly willing to accept roughly €3 million, which is a pretty fair deal, to be honest. I think we'd make a little bit of a profit based on what his book value is, but it wouldn't be too huge. Basically, as a rule of thumb, if you're a football club and you are selling someone for below their book value, you probably just hate that footballer. If not, you just wait and then do a deal that works for you at a point where it will actually benefit your finances. But there's several players that, if we sold right now, would in fact have a negative impact on the books, which is absolutely not what we're going to be doing with Isaac Schmidt. €3 million would be a little bit of profit, not a ton, but would ultimately be the way to go. Now, him looking at Young Boys or Basel makes a little bit of sense. Something else that makes a lot of sense is the potential move for Sebastian Borau. Now, this one is a little bit more complicated because of the context surrounding everything. Now, Sebastian Borau did not play much last season, and that is sort of understandable. He was the final on the list of options where in front of him was Pascal Struijk, Joe Rodon, Jakob Beal. In the event that one of those was injured, it would tend to be James Justin playing at centre-back, and you just stick someone in at right-back to make up for it, because James Justin is the most reliable footballer on the planet, according to Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke, who isn't necessarily wrong in that situation as well. Now, there was word in January that Sebastian Borau might be looking for a move elsewhere, which would have made a lot of sense. He wasn't getting any minutes at all, and will have probably been looking at his career like, yeah, I should probably go and do something then, shouldn't I? Played a little bit in the second half of the season, but again, you could probably understand him looking for a move towards the back half of the year. And what also makes a lot of sense is now that he's being, according to a couple of sources, viewed as one of the key targets for FC Köln. FC Köln play in Germany, decent standard, and Borau would very probably play a lot of football there. It's a decent standard, but it's not up there. And the fact of the matter is, he would probably dance his way into their starting lineup, which is sort of good for him because he could really do with the football after last year. There's a chance he might play a little bit more this season, considering Pascal Struijk is no longer here, and a Borau exit would mean having to sign 2 new centre-backs in addition to the fact that we could have probably also done with another centre-back anyway. But it's a little bit of a complex one. Borau is one of those players that I can see going. I would rather he didn't, mainly because that would make things incredibly complicated in terms of squad building. We would need the backup centre-back that we needed last season anyway, plus a strike replacement, plus probably a Borau replacement. So avoid that would probably be quite good. But then we get on to what I think would be the biggest of the departures, this being reported by Gianluca Di Marzio, who is a fairly reliable source when it comes to Italian transfer news, that Torino are keeping a little bit of an eye on Lucas Perry. Not just Lucas Perry, however, they are also looking at Aaron Ramsdale, who is at Southampton. This is... Hello, the baby is grabbing at my chest. Torino quite badly need a goalkeeper of a decent standard at the moment, and let's be honest, Lucas Perry is a good goalkeeper, just made a few mistakes earlier on in the season, and that made him sort of slide in everyone's expectations, probably the sort of PTSD from Ilan Mellier's existence. I am personally of the opinion that we shouldn't necessarily sell Lucas Perry, because I think there's a lot of potential to him. However, I know a lot of people disagree, and I would be far more persuaded if Lucas Perry were to gain a profit for us, because then we could reinvest that rather than sort of sell him off for his book value. Then we sort of go, well, okay, fine, but that doesn't particularly help the PSR in any way, shape or form. Not PSR, squad cost ratio, because that's changed for some reason. And then we can reinvest in someone like a Zion Suzuki, or someone like this one isn't going to happen, but a James Trafford, and maybe upgrade in that position, because I think what we need to be doing at this point is we've got that sort of core foundation of a squad. We need to be upgrading where we can, where is affordable, and yeah, there are those players that need to be upgraded immediately, in those positions that need something that is just screaming out for assistance, like another left back, rather than just Gabby Goodmanson's injured, right, chuck James Just in there. Yeah, but we've also got a right back injured. Piss. Like, at that point, you kind of need to reinvest in getting some backup fullbacks. But I think upgrading the goalkeeper is a step that just makes a lot of sense. And although there's been reports that Zion Suzuki has turned down a bid from Leeds United, that one I might cover on a stream tomorrow, because I need to take a little bit of a dive through all the sources and stuff, and I'm not bothering with that at 4:03 in the morning. It's a curious one. Ultimately, we know there is going to be a lot of movement out of Leeds United this summer. I will put my neck on the line as well and say that I don't think the Okafor stuff is related to Leeds United. I think that might be a Swiss thing, because Switzerland are still in the World Cup and he is not having a very, very good time with their national team because their coach is a moron. But I think the Okafor, could he be leaving because he's blacked out his profile picture thing? That doesn't feel Leeds related. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's just my own theory. But there will be a lot of players exiting Leeds United this summer. Hopefully they're the ones that we don't necessarily need, and hopefully it's for good fees, and we reinvest that and build a fantastic squad for next season, and not only survive but thrive in the Premier League. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed now, and the baby's just farted, and it stinks, so I'm going to deal with that, then go to bed. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like on it, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Toodaloo.